just 1 moment.
Tomorrow we celebrate the people that fought in war, but today we celebrate John, my grandfather.
That's a hard act to follow. Welcome to you all as we come together today to remember and celebrate the life of John Alexander Draper. John is back here in his hometown of Parkes, where his ashes will be placed in their final resting place. We also salute John's Scottish heritage, and we salute those who cannot be here with us today. My name is Deborah Jordan. I'm a registered civil celebrant, and I'm privileged to be here to officiate the ceremony today. I wasn't fortunate enough to have met John, but after speaking with Jacqueline and Fleur, I gained a real sense of his spirit and the man that he was. Let me express the family's gratitude for your presence. In times like these, nothing takes the place of friends. Your presence helps the family realise how valuable their loved one was to others and shows what an impact his living and passing has made. We honour a man who touched many lives. We will all acknowledge that we are different because John was here.
You sit with your mum.
The hole in the world where John used to be will feel especially large and daunting. The journey of grief can be long, and no one should have to walk it alone. Commit yourselves to be present to John's family in the coming days, weeks and months as they find their ways to live without him. I'm sure each of you has a special John story. Find a time soon to share it with the family. Call, email, or maybe write a note to let them know that John was a part of your life. John passed away with dignity and courage, surrounded by his family. He was at peace. He is now reunited with his grandsons Christian and Dominic and his stepson Alex. Lives taken too soon. We also remember them today. Every life is noted and cherished. Nothing loved is ever lost or perished. I'd like to share a poem called On the Night Train by Henry Lawson, written in 1922. Have you seen the bush by moonlight from the train go running by? Blackened log and stump and sapling, ghostly trees all dead and dry. Here a patch of glassy water, there a glimpse of mystic sky. Have you heard the still voice calling, yet so warm and yet so cold? I'm the mother bush that bore you. Come to me when you are old. Did you see the bush below you, sweeping darkly to the range, all unchanged and all unchanging, yet so very old and strange? While you thought in softened anger of the things that did estrange, did you hear the bush a-calling when your heart was young and bold? I'm the mother bush that nursed you. Come to me when you are old. In the cutting of a tunnel, out of stock or shed, did you hear the grey bush calling from the pine ridge overhead? You've seen the cities and the seas, all is cold to you or dead. All seems done and all seems told, but the grey light turns to gold. I am the mother bush that loves you. Come to me now you are old. I am honoured to share words from friends and family. I hope you don't get sick of the sound of my voice, but there are some wonderful stories and things to share. So first of all, we're going to listen to some of John's own memories in his own words. I can remember when my parents first told me that I was going to boarding school in mid-1947. I was in 4th class at Parkes Primary School. I had only been to Sydney twice in my life. We used to holiday at Manly when the seasons were good in the country and we had surplus funds. My uncle had been to Scots from 1929 to 1932 and I had heard of his exploits and browsed for hours through the old Scotsman magazine, looking at his photos, and I wanted to follow in his footsteps. My great-aunt Elizabeth Draper contributed towards paying the fees at Scots. She was a remarkable person, having served as second in charge of the Australian nursing contingent in World War II. I therefore spent many Sundays gardening to help earn my keep and learned quite a lot about hospitals. My journey to Scots started with a train trip from Parkes to Sydney, visits to David Jones and Pepys to be outfitted in my new school uniform and gear that I'd never heard of, underpants, toilet bag, etc. But the big experience was my first trip to Bellevue Hill. We arrived by taxi at Mansion Road, delivered my suitcase, and met Mr. Zach Palmer. What a formidable man. I thought that his pipe was part of his body. We then walked down to the main school and met Mr. A.K.A. Anderson, the boss. What a friendly man. Then back to Mansion Road and goodbyes. This was hard, but there was a wonderful woman there who looked and felt a lot like my mother, the matron, Mrs. Taylor. She was to be a substitute mother for me for the next 2 years. Our life at Scots Prep was quite hard. 6:30 a.m. rise, calisthenics on the oval in shorts and t-shirts, summer and winter, then cold showers, dressed, breakfast, make beds, kit inspection, then school. Sounds like the army, doesn't it? 1948 was a drab year. Blackouts and power failures were the norm. Many a day no hot food, and many a nights we went to bed by candlelight. I had played rugby league in the country before coming to Scots and fell into union very easily. The result was inclusion in the under-10As. The most hated night of the week to me was Friday. We had the most vile tripe, and I've never eaten it since. Because I only had one relative in Sydney, my dear old Aunt Elizabeth, I didn't get out all the free weekends, so some of the parents of the day boys used to invite me out. I must recount one amusing episode. The first weekend I spent at Bill Ditford's home. Came Sunday dinner, and we all sat down, and old Bill, the father, produced a large, beautifully cooked turkey. Turning to me, he said, "Had I seen one so big, and I bet we didn't have turkey often in the country." Well, I couldn't tell a lie, so I told him that my mother and auntie breed 400 turkeys each year, and we had roast turkey about twice a month. I certainly didn't mean to deflate him, but I think I did. I just never learned to be diplomatic. Playing in the 15 was a great experience, and despite our loss to Waverley, we played well against everyone else. The culmination was the awards. Brian Cameron won the cup for the best back, and I won the JD Morgan Shield for the best forward. The rest of the year, athletics and preparing for the main school. Now, main school was quite different from prep. We were small boys in the big league. Some of my most memorable moments in Royal House were the Dogs Box, temporary in 1937, still there in 1979. They were hot in the summer and freezing in the winter. I remember Wal Murray hitting the clock tower in the main school with an almighty 6. The Queen's visit, lining up along New South Head Road and waving. Being selected in the GPS athletics and 15 rugby and reserved for the combined GPS. And playing in the first 15 with great players. After leaving Scots, I went to Sydney University to study medicine, but decided after 1 year that I liked well people better. Then back to the farm, followed by many enterprises, including silver construction that took me all over New South Wales and Queensland, stud cattle in Queensland, and back to Sydney for a spell working in furniture and interior decorating with my wife Jacqueline. Which leads me into some lovely words from Jacqueline. She tells us that John had an incredible memory. He never forgot anything, only when it was convenient. He lived and loved his life to the full and was never scared of anything or anyone, except his wife Jacqueline, his greatest love. He never gave up, was always positive to start new business ventures. He used to say, "If you never try, you'll never know." He was a loving man, impatient, sometimes intolerant, ridiculous, funny, but always ready for a laugh at himself. That was my John. You loved him or you didn't. Nothing was fake about him. What you saw is what you got. He was a good guy and a good mate. If you needed him, he was there in a flash, as long as you had a cold beer ready for him. He was larger than life. I'm now honoured to share some words from his daughter Lily. And she says, "If you spent any extended period of time with my father, he would inevitably bring up his favourite story, the Mutiny on the Bounty. He would mention this to anyone who would listen. I often wondered why he would bring it up so frequently. I've come to realise that the story speaks to him on a deeper level. It speaks to his inner nature. Much like a ship at sea, he charted his own course. He was the strongest-willed person I have ever known, and for better or for worse, he saw opportunities that other people didn't and seized them with a single-minded determination. To quote the book, The Mutiny on the Bounty, to defy the commonplace is to breathe life into the realms of possibilities. That is how my father lived his life. He would defy expectations, defy what people thought was possible, and would breathe life into what only he knew was possible. All this to say, I will miss my father dearly. I will carry with me the lessons he has taught me about having the audacity to live my life on my own terms and according to my own purpose. This I will cherish forever." I now follow this with words from John's son Chris, who would like to say, "My father's life was an incredible journey, and I'm fortunate to have been a part of it. Dad believed in the Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism. He had a keen sense of recognising business opportunities and always said, if you work hard enough, anything is possible. He was a farmer, developer, importer, retailer, storekeeper, restaurateur and hotelier. He built roads and bridges, dug dams and turned acres of scrub into pastures. His heart was always in the bush and the country way of life, but he found plenty of challenges and success in the city. One of my earliest memories was sitting next to Dad on the armrest of a Caterpillar D6 as we crawled along the stock route from Parkes to Alec and on the Peak Hill Road. Not far from where Dad will be laid to rest, in 1987, Dad, Pop, as in Dad's dad, and I all got to look up at the sky and see Halley's Comet together. Dad loved politics, rugby, Australia, his wife Jacqueline, and of course all his children. As we say goodbye, and although I am not able to join you, I'm comforted knowing that Dad's legacy lives on in each of us. I'd now like to share some words from, I think, John's best friend, Steve Bridge. In 1972, Chris, John's son, and I were the two best rugby players in our years. Chris being in the 13As and me being in the 13Bs. Both teams were managed by Lieutenant Colonel Sandy Moore. I had been selected for the state side the year before, and Chris was the gun player from the prep school. John was at all our games, having played in the first 15 at Scots College during his time there. Chris and I became best friends. John was like a father to me, but most of all a mate. He mentored me, and we spent hours discussing world affairs and Australian political affairs. Chris and I continued our friendship, even dating sisters, Rear Admiral Tony Horton's daughters. John's parents, affectionately known as Mr. and Mrs. D, became the grandparents that I never had. They adored me. John could turn his hand to anything, building, running a multitude of businesses. He had an extremely high IQ. John was a remarkable person, and I miss him dearly. He is part of my family. I will see you, John, in the afterlife. Rest in peace. Now we're going to share words that Jacqueline, his daughter, has chosen. It was apparently John's favourite poem. Have you ever thought, as the hearse goes, that you might be the next one to die? They wrap you up in a big white sheet and drop you down about 10 feet. The worms crawl in, the worms crawl out. Play ping pong on your snout. Very appropriate. Thank you to everyone who shared those lovely words with us so that I could share them with you. Now we have a lovely poem called Dearest Old Dad by Fleur. So rest in peace, dearest old Dad. We won't feel sorrow or feel sad. Now we are bidding you a final adieu. I will hold on to the lessons you taught us true, from engineering to cooking beef stews, and your stories old and new. Your legacy lives on in the song that you wrote, the house that you built, and the words that you spoke. You were never wrong. Even when we knew we were right, you always gave us a bloody good fight. With your football's embrace, your F100 in race, your hammer and drills, your wine spills, your stories and knowledge, the fact that you love porridge and your beloved Scots College. You've embarked on your final flight. You'll always shine so bright. We lay you to rest in a place that was best, Parks next to Nan and Pop. This is your last stop on the earthly endeavour. It was true splendour. We'll now enjoy some more bagpipe music whilst the actual placement of the ashes and the laying of your tributes take place.
No, I did. She hasn't included it. No?
You're going to give it to Darcy now.
Give it to Darcy.
Son. He says, Dad wasn't afraid of anything, particularly not of a political debate or taking a chance with business. He paved his own way in life and, even despite so many challenges, kept true to his values. Through his confidence, sheer grit and forever positive attitude, he achieved, lived and experienced more than most people can imagine. He was the strongest man I'll ever know, and until the end still crushed my hand every time I gave it to him. Pretty impressive at 87, must add. He was also the most affectionate and loving bloke I've met, always at his happiest, surrounded by family and the ones who loved him. He was always looking for an opportunity to impart his wisdom, any anecdote or tale that he would want us to remember. He loved history when we were young. Our family holidays would involve long road trips to check out some old bridge he built or property he had found that interested him. He would tell tales of ancient civilizations, conquerors, and a never-ending supply of obscure facts. I was always amazed by his knowledge, even though sometimes his facts were of his own interpretation. Dad's most cherished times, I believe, were his years at Scots. Growing up, hearing of his exploits and triumphs on the football pitch drew me to want to walk the same hallways. I'm forever grateful of the sacrifices that he and Mum made to give me that experience. Having his mates, Hugh McLaren and Gordon McLean, here today to share one last Old Boys reunion with him would have made him very happy. I will miss him telling the story of me in my high chair, demanding my third round of Weet-Bix while calling out to him. I will miss him telling the waiter at every restaurant we ever went to that he couldn't eat a bit of the food whilst holding a clean plate. I will miss his unwavering support, advice and eagerness to spend time with me, You have left big shoes to fill, old man, and a big hole in all our hearts. Love you, mate, and I'll do my best to make you proud. I'm sure you do already. There's no doubt today that at the end of John's time here, he left so many hearts that are aching, so many tears of grief, but my goodness, he has left behind so many warm memories and a beautiful legacy of love for his family and friends. I now have some very beautiful final words from Jacqueline, and she says, "Goodbye, my big man, the love of my life. You left us without a sound, leaving behind a silence heavier than all the adieu, with no cry, just an immense emptiness without any comeback. My John, my husband, I thank you for all the love you gave us. This is only an au revoir, mon cœur. Mon amour, à bientôt." From Jacqueline, your Queen. As you think of your continuing journey in this life, promise never to forget John and honour his memory by living your lives as he would want you to, with no regrets. I wish you all peace to bring comfort, courage to face the days ahead, and memories of the love that John shared. Think of him with joy. Think of him in silence, and when you speak his name, feel his spirit with you. The family have asked me to thank you all once again for being here today, especially those who have travelled far to join us. And to everyone who reached out to share their best wishes and memories, your kindness is much appreciated and has brought comfort at this sad time. Following the service, everyone is invited back to 130 Mitchell Street in Parks for some light refreshments. So may we leave this place in the quietness of John's memory, taking him with us in that most special of places, the depths of our hearts.